Summer is just about to hit, and that means things are going to get bloody hot, bloody quick here at the workshop. And because we're going to be opening these doors to have workshop classes next year, I thought it was about time that we invested in an air conditioner. But the bad thing is I got taken for a ride and I bought a lemon. So I've decided to make this thing not a total write-off, that I'm going to attempt to convert it to be an evaporative cooler, so we use it as a fan and at least get some amount of cooling. For those of you that don't know how an evaporative system works, it's basically a pad that goes in front of the fan that blows all the air, which gets a slow stream of water trickle down over it, so that as the air is pulled through, the thermic reaction of the sciencey stuff cools down the air. So this is the plan. Compressor is going to get cut out, and well, we'll put it on the shelf because we might find something to do with it one day, but I doubt it. Condensers up the top, they're getting cut out and replaced with a Celtic filter, and in place of this bottom blower and air compressor, we're going to put a big tank with a small circulating pump, which you can feed water up through the pipe system, which we're going to remove, and pour water down over the Celtic filter. Now, refrigeration, especially R22, is really nasty stuff. You don't want to do this on a system that has any pressure in it. Now, I had a professional refrigeration technician who deserves a shout out because he was really useful. Reliance Air Conditioning and Refrigeration. He came, he pressure tested it, he's confirmed that it's safe to cut into. In fact, he's the one that suggested this because it's not worth fixing. So, I'm going to cut all of these pipes out, remove this condenser, and keep going. I'm going to try and get this back in place so we have an air seal. I mean, I think rivets were very much last year, so I'm using zip screws. That feels pretty solid. I'm happy with that. Cool. So this here is the Celtic filter. It's like basically a weave of cardboard with weird galleries and stuff, so water goes through it nicely. And it lives like this. This slots in perfectly, and all we need to really do is just kind of secure it somehow so it doesn't get drawn into the pump. So I'm thinking for that, I'll just add maybe an angle bracket here, drive the screw through, and then we'll do the same on the back. Now it can't go any further forward, it can only draw backward. All right, so that's half the battle done. We've got the filter in place, we're airtight again, and now we just need some water to kind of circulate through this whole system. Now this is just some retic style PVC, and I'm just gonna kind of force it in place up the top there, and we'll block off one end, drill a series of holes throughout this pipe so it trickles through nice and even across the entire filter. And then we'll just use a pump which we can put in a tank underneath this thing and circulate the water. So I'm just going to push it all the way to the end, mark where we got to cut it, which is here. So let's do that and add some holes. Alright, so there's our little water fountain. I'm just going to block one end with a cork for now, and then here I've just got a elbow and a standard hose fitting off a garden hose, and that will be good for our testing. So I'm thinking this is probably going to get pressed on like that, so the water comes out just at a slight angle, not dead down, because we need the water to pool up as a little trough underside. And then hopefully that will get everything to kind of trickle through. So the guys at the aircon shop where I got this from were kind enough to put a trough in the filter for us, and it has a little tray. So basically that's going to just let the water kind of pool out and then make its way into all of these galleries. At least that's the idea. So we can kind of shove that in place. Chuck that back up there. And yeah, we can plumb some hose into that and it should be good. So for the tank, oh God, it's Smarter man would have filled it up after it was in place, but you know, I'm not smart. Aha! Alright, so the tank. That's just a 60-litre garbage thing that I can fill up with water or something. So the pump that I'm going to use to circulate everything is the cheapest pump I could find at Bunnings. It's an Azedo 300 watt bilge pump, and because this thing is such a high flow rate, I've just put this ball valve on it so that I can restrict the flow and get it just right. So this can kind of, well, let's attach the hose first. This gets a hose on it, and that can just drop into the tank like so. The hose can then be routed up and through and plugged in, which is lovely. So this is the return line, and this is just gonna kind of get cable tied into place. Would have been smart if I left the cable tie loose. So we put the cable tie in nice and loose, because you know, who would make it too tight? Only an idiot, right? Put that there. Cable tie that nice and tight. And we can just kind of hook that up there so it has a nice downward slope to it. So, alright, so I think that's basically us. We've got our tank, which is our reservoir. We've got our plumbing and our pump hooked up, which we can adjust for the flow rate. And then we've got our return line, which should catch all of the residue down here. So the only thing that's left to do is top up our tank so it actually has enough water in it, and test the pump, see if it actually works. So let's do that. Alright, so our pad is starting to get wet. We've got water in our tray, and if we look down here, there's our return line. Now, to me, that looks like the flow rate is too high, so I'm just going to adjust that, and that's looking a bit better. So let's see if it works. I'm going to turn the fan on, see how cold it gets, and maybe this has been all for nothing, but you know, it's fun to experiment. So we can see that the trickle rate is now a lot lower, which I'm happier with. And I guess the main thing is that we haven't got so much water that it's pulling it through the filter into a fan. We don't want wet air, we just want cooled air. But I mean, everything looks pretty good. So I'm going to let that run for about 10 minutes and come back and check the return water. So right now it's at about room temperature, the same temperature as the bucket at least. So if this works properly, that water should come out nice and icy and start transferring it into the air. Now for ducting, I've got this big temporary thing that you use in gazebos for outdoor events, and that runs all the way down to the front of the shop and into the unit. I do need to fix up this transition. I need to make it so it's more curved, hasn't got that kink in it, but it's going to be sweet. Alright, so I had that running for about 15 minutes, and yeah, worked really, really well. The water was coming out just icy cold, and the air was nice and chilled as well, so happy with that. I did take the cover off and I had a quick look, and I noticed that the pad wasn't evenly wet, so I just took the pipe out, drilled more holes, so basically split it every center, so that works out to be every 30 mil. And now this has just been circulating without the fan for about 2 minutes, and the pad is now evenly saturated. Very happy with that. Time to button it up and make some cold air, because that's what we do here at Maker Addiction. Oh, well, that was a kind of fun, different project because we got ripped off. So we had to come up with a solution to make it not feel like we got completely ripped off. So if you like this video, click that thumbs up button, leave a comment below. Also click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and also double check that bell icon is on, because without that you don't get notified about my videos, and we want you to get notified about those videos. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'm going to cool this place down.